Did the NBA inflate Michael Jordan's stats to protect their brand?
There's no easy way out.
Some people think, well, I don't have a brand, I just have a business. Well, you do have a brand, and your brand does mean something to your customers. You know, I say a brand is a combination of who you think you are and what your customers know you are. And hopefully who you think you are and what your customers think you are match. Hi, I'm Tony Nash, and welcome back to another episode of the No Easy Way Out podcast. We are coming to you, as always, from the Woodworth Building in beautiful downtown Owasso, home to my company, AZ Branding Solutions, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. Now, the sports world is talking about this right now. Reports are stating that the NBA and the Chicago Bulls inflated Michael Jordan's stats, particularly in the years where he was winning a lot of awards. Is it true? Did it really happen? There's a lot of confirmed reports about it, but why did they do it? What was the reasoning? Was it perhaps to protect the brand of the NBA that at that time was not doing so hot, and they saw Michael Jordan as an opportunity to grow their brand? Who knows? But here to talk about it is one of the biggest Michael Jordan fans I know, my oldest son, Micah Nash. Micah, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. And my biggest MJ fans, I think I'm just the biggest acknowledger that he is the GOAT. I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan, although I think he's definitely the greatest player. I love watching him. I love his mentality. I love a lot of things about him. I'm sure there's bigger Michael Jordan fans out there, but I do
Well, just one of the biggest ones I know.
Yeah, there we go.
One of the biggest ones I know. And obviously you're a fan of the shoes.
Yeah,
Got some Jordans on today. Got the jersey going.
Yeah.
And, obviously you've been very outspoken. One of our most viewed videos of all time is the video where you said that Jordan is clearly the GOAT more than LeBron. And so there was about, there's thousands of comments on that post.
Yeah.
And it was about 50-50, right? About half the people agreed with you, half the people disagreed with you. But we're not here today to debate MJ as the GOAT
there's no
versus
debate.
LeBron. There's no debate. But some might say this affects his GOAT status. We'll get into that. But Yahoo Sports broke the news with an allegation that some people were saying that the Chicago Bulls during the 1988 season specifically, his Defensive Player of the Year season, were padding his stats, that were giving him more steals than he was getting. Matter of fact, they say that they went back and they did a 6-game series. The person who wrote this article went back, watched a 6-game series and tallied all the steals. And they had Jordan, they said in a 6-game series, Jordan had 12 steals, but the stats say he had 28. It's a big difference. Of course, Scottie Pippen has come out and said, and we'll get into Scottie in a minute because that's a whole nother part of this thing.
The haterade.
Yes. The reports say 28 versus 12. So that's a big discrepancy here.
Yeah.
So who knows how much that played out over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough thing to kind of argue against when you first hear it. It kind of takes you back and really makes you second guess a lot of things. But we'll get into the details of that. But from first glance, when I first heard about it, to me it didn't make me feel like, okay, well, he's not the GOAT anymore. He's not the GOAT anymore. No, it made me think like, okay, well, I can see why they would do that, and I can see probably how there's some discrepancies there. But to me, in my opinion, like, it's not Michael Jordan who's obviously untelling those stats.
Well, listen, there were actually games where they had reported that Jordan had more steals than the other team actually had turnovers.
Yeah.
So how does that happen, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get into the why that happened. We'll get into why I think the NBA might have done it. It doesn't seem like it's really disputed. But MJ has an unbelievable legacy, right? I mean, is there a more widely known person on earth than Michael Jordan all over the globe? Certainly not a more well-known basketball player, and he hasn't laced them up since 2002, 2003. Yeah. So his legacy is forever cemented in greatness, but, and this has people talking, like, how much do we really know? You've never watched a Michael Jordan game. I've watched a few. A lot of fans today have never actually seen Michael Jordan play. They've seen the highlight reels. Right. And if you only watch the highlight reels, of any player, you would think, wow, that player was incredible. Of course, Michael Jordan has a lot of highlights. And so we talked about this in an earlier episode that the NBA learned very early on that Michael Jordan was good for the sport. For whatever reason, even though there were better players like MJ and Bird, Dr. J, Kareem, all these big names that we know
By
about
MJ,
today.
you mean Magic Johnson?
Did I say MJ?
You said MJ. I'm
Magic
assuming
Johnson.
Magic
Yeah, sorry,
yep.
Magic Johnson. All these players were in the league, and even Michael Jordan's draft class was very talented, multiple Hall of Famers. But for whatever reason, he brought the endorsement deals. He brought the sneakers sales. He brought the ticket sales. He
Really
filled up
changing
the arenas.
athletes, not just basketball players, just athletes in general.
Yeah, so I mean, he became this global icon, and of course, the NBA wasn't doing super great in the early '80s. You know, they had the Showtime Lakers, and they had the Celtics and Bird, and they had a lot of these iconic things that were happening. It was bringing a lot of attention, but ratings were still low. Attendance at the games were still low. Players weren't making these huge multi-million-dollar crazy. I mean, there were some players making in the millions, but it wasn't anything like today. And David Stern and the NBA realized Michael Jordan is good for basketball. So BroBible and Yahoo both mentioned that they have confirmed that these stats were inflated. There is no report showing how far it goes and how deep it goes. But what do you think, man? What do you think? And what do you think that they knew this was happening? Do you think somebody was in on it? Do you think it was just the Bulls doing it? Was the NBA behind it?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of layers too. I think it's not as simple as just who knew and who didn't know. But I think there was definitely some. I wouldn't put it past them even to have some sort of coercion there to inflate whatever it may be, because after all,
Coercion?
Yeah,
Or collusion?
definitely not collusion. I'm pretty sure coercion's the word I was.
Oh, you're saying the NBA was
Yeah.
coercing the Bulls?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I thought you were saying. I got you. The right word then. My bad.
Okay. I forgot what I was going to say.
You think there was probably some coercion from the NBA to the
Yeah.
Bulls?
Re-ask the question. I'm just going to restart the whole answer. What was the question?
Okay.
Cut this part out.
I'm gonna say. So, Micah, do you think that the Bulls were doing it on purpose? Was it just a rogue scorekeeper? Do you think the NBA was behind it? What do you think happened?
I think it's a mix of all those things. I think there's a lot of hands in each of the pots there trying to inflate the persona, maybe. I think it's very interesting that in its day that this was never picked up on. I feel like there would have been someone all those years ago that would have picked up on this. It's interesting that all these years later that now they're finally discovering this. So that's a little suspect in my opinion. But unless it was just very well hid, if it was some sort of plot by the NBA or the Bulls or whoever it may be to inflate him, then I guess they would find a way to hide it pretty well. But I think it definitely could have been multiple sources that would try to inflate him for
So
the
you could
purpose
see
of
it
playing.
happening.
I could see it happening for sure.
You could see it happening.
But not just with him, but with really any stats. You think about some crazy things like Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. A lot of people can't find a lot of footage of it. The records are kind of spotty on it. So I'm sure there's more things in the history of the league that have been also inflated as well.
I mean, the marketing by design is supposed to make you look bigger than you are, better than you are, more skilled than you are. So was it just good marketing by the NBA? Of course, there's been a lot of response to this. They've asked the NBA for a comment, and the NBA has been silent. They refuse to make any comments about this. Of course, David Stern is gone.
Right.
He's not with us anymore. So, who knows if he knew. Again, I kind of lean to think that maybe they were doing it to protect their brand. Maybe they realized, like, MJ has to be an all-star. He has to be. We have to keep this wave of momentum going. And, he was filling up the stat sheets, it's seemingly by himself. But, of course, he had seasons where he averaged 37 points a game, 36 points a game. Are those stats real? Is somebody going to go back and watch those games to verify that? Right. Who knows? But fans have ranged from disbelief, like, I don't believe this is true, to some people are angry, to some people who are more like you, like, who cares? MJ's still the GOAT. So
yeah. Well, as far as that opinion with who cares? In my GOAT debate or GOAT status, it's not always been about stats, because you can battle stats all day long. You can go over the numbers back and forth. So there's got to be that one indefinable quality that kind of sets him apart. And I think even if you took away the stats, although his stats are very, very impressive and speak for themselves, I think the undefinable quality that makes him the GOAT was his mentality, the way he changed the game, the way people feared him, the way he brought new players and people to the game. I think it's more than just the stats that make him the GOAT. So although this is a potentially, disheartening thing to hear, I still don't think that takes away his GOAT status for me.
So you think that him being the GOAT, in your opinion, isn't really about how many championships. It's not about how many points per game.
That's definitely a factor for sure. I think those are all very crucial things, and you definitely have to weigh those when considering who is the GOAT. But it's not the one defining factor that makes it or breaks it for
So
me.
the defining factor is the way he approached the game, his mentality, his impact on the game.
Yeah.
Certainly he's had a tremendous impact on the game. I mean, even today, people still want to wear his shoes. People still want to wear his clothes. People still want to be like Mike. They compare all of the greatest. Could he be the next Michael Jordan?
Right.
Anytime somebody has a great moment, like Anthony Edwards, not only could he just be like Mike, but there's rumors that he's Michael Jordan's son. Like,
Yeah.
it can't be that someone else can be good without having some comparison
Yeah.
to Michael Jordan. So what a legacy.
Yeah.
What a brand that he created. Now let's talk about Scotty. Scottie Pippen was not a fan of how the Last Dance portrayed him.
Right.
Now, Michael Jordan was he granted access during the 1998 season for these film crews to come in and film the whole thing.
Yeah.
He was then given that footage and didn't do anything with the footage until June 22nd of 2016. And what happened around that time, June 20th of right around middle of June in 2016? Well, LeBron beat the 73-9 Warriors, who beat MJ's single season record, came back from 3-1 with Cleveland and won the NBA Finals, and all of a sudden was getting all the attention. Of course, that made people say, this cements LeBron as the greatest of all time. And MJ, in classic fashion, he took that personally, and he released the footage, and then we got The Last Dance. Some think that's funny, petty. I think it's right on brand with Michael Jordan.
Right.
I think it's hilarious. I mean,
Saving
it's
it
like,
for a rainy day.
you want to say you're the GOAT? Well, here, watch this, baby.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of funny. I do think it was intentional. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and he wanted people to remember, like, hey, don't sleep on me. Don't forget about who I am. But during that documentary, there's reports that MJ had to say in Final Cut, but they didn't really highlight Pippen the way he wanted to be highlighted.
Right.
And after that, Pippen got pretty salty. And so Pippen's made some reports about this, saying that sometimes that Scotty would steal the ball and tip it to MJ, and they would give the steal to Mike, that they would take a lot of his stats and give them away to Michael Jordan. Of course, Scotty and some of the old Bulls have gone on the road and have like this hater tour where they're kind of telling you the real story of Michael Jordan. So what do you think about Scotty?
I think Scotty's a classic case of the underdog wanting to be the superhero. He's the Robin, and he wants to be Batman, and he's not Batman. He's gone back and forth on a lot of it. I've seen interviews where he's uplifting Michael Jordan, saying he's the greatest no matter what.
Not since The Last Dance.
No, but not since The Last Dance. So
His
he's
tone
kind of
has changed.
He's kind of flip-flopping, and he's kind of changed his story based on really emotion, I think is what it's really based on. So I think there's just a lot of jealousy. I think there's a lot of despise on his part. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but
Jealousy?
jealousy. Yeah,
There you
jealousy
go.
is really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah. Well, so again, my thought is the NBA said this is an opportunity to grow our brand, protect our brand. Were they in on it? I don't know. I can see it. It's a business. It's a moneymaker. The NBA is a multi-billion-dollar global industry. So are they going to do things that are going to make people want to come watch the games, fill the seats? They had a player like Jordan that was already showing without anything that he knows how to fill a stadium. He knows how to sell sneakers. He knows how to sell cars, all the things that came with that. And so did the NBA say, yeah, let's go for it? I wouldn't put it past them.
Go ahead. I wouldn't put it past him either. But going back to the GOAT conversation, the fact that they realized how important he was to the game of basketball in itself, and felt like they needed to do everything they can to make him better than he already was. For me, that adds a little bit to it, to realize how important and crucial he was to the growth of the game that they needed to make sure that he was.
Well,
lifted
either
up.
way, they did a good job of telling MJ's story, not just with The Last Dance, but while he was playing. They made people fall in love with him. Even if you hated the Bulls, I was a Pistons fan, so I was not a big Michael Jordan fan.
Right.
But I still wore his sneakers. I still wanted to be like Mike. I still tried to mimic his moves in a very, failed attempt. But they did a good job of branding MJ to the NBA, of marketing his skills.
And MJ branding himself, it's not,
For
it's
sure.
not all in the NBA.
Not all the
just-
NBA, but certainly, he got a lot of help. And of course, he's, been proven to be a marketing genius himself. This reminds me of what's happening right now in the WNBA with a player like Caitlin Clark, who has this who's bringing new fans to the sport. But it appears like the WNBA is not jumping on the bandwagon of that. They're almost kind of, trying to reduce her shine a little bit. And I think maybe they should look at, some of the playbooks from the NBA and say, hey, we got to do something.
They have a
you know?
template that works. Why not recreate it?
I've posted some content on my channels recently, and there's a lot of WNBA loyalists who call all of us, I know not you, but myself, they're calling us the new fans. And they're like, the new fans are super annoying. They can leave. We don't need you. You just got here. You don't know anything. And just like, almost like we don't want. One guy said we were better off without all these new fans, and I'm like, really? Because nobody. I mean, the WNBA has been playing, in the words of Bill Burr, in front of hundreds of people a night for a quarter of a century. They weren't drawing anybody, and now they are. And listen, it is 100% because of Caitlin Clark. That's it, 100%,
Yep.
No question about it. The NBA saw it. David Stern was an incredible businessman. He understood it. The whole reason he pushed to get the professionals to go to the Olympics, because he wanted to grow the sport globally. He got it. He understood it. And look what that did for the NBA. Today, you see players like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Joel Embiid. Who else am I missing?
Also, Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic. These are like top 10 NBA players right now, and they're foreigners.
Yeah.
And all of these guys say, we started watching basketball because of the Dream Team.
Right.
And it opened up a whole realm of possibilities. So I'm not mad at it. Now, I think that a brand should have integrity. Integrity is one of our core values here at AZ. We do not believe in inflating things that aren't true. We do believe in showing the best side of things. We do believe in telling the story. We do believe in making sure that you're doing the right things. But as far as the NBA goes, I'm not hating on them for doing it. They understood what was happening, and they made something happen out of it.
You got to respect the game a little bit, They found a way to make it work, whether it was true or whether it was a lie. They found the horse and they rode it till the end, and it's obviously worked for them.
So what kind of impact do you think this will have on the long-term legacy of Michael Jordan?
I think there's always going to be debate no matter what kind of statistics you're debating. I'm sure there'll come a point, later when they're debating LeBron's legacy and thinking back, well, maybe not all that was as great as it sounds. Maybe some of it was fib. You look at some of the math on his scoring record and you think about, some of that's kind of a little funny when you do the math about it. But I don't think it affects it super crazy
So
long
are
term.
you saying that you think LeBron's stats are maybe a little inflated as well?
I think it could. I think if you could inflate this, I think you could make a case for anything.
Does
Once the cat's out of the bag on one thing, I think you could apply it to all things.
Well, LeBron is certainly marketable as well. The NBA has done a lot to push him, make him the face of the league. And so who knows? Who knows what it was? I think from my perspective as a brand expert is you have to tread the line carefully between authenticity and integrity. Marketing is a great tool to showcase your brand and the highlights of your brand and the things that make it great. And I think it's okay to even give the perception of that you're maybe a little bigger than you are, to give people comfort to work with you. But I would say don't sacrifice the integrity of your brand. Don't sacrifice the authenticity of your brand to sell more, whatever. And of course, the NBA did it. I get it. I understand it. It worked for them. But now it has people questioning the integrity of their league. And so my opinion is long-term legacy. I don't think it affects MJ. I don't think it doesn't change anyone's mind about him being the GOAT.
Right.
I think there's always going to be the haters who say he is or isn't. There are always going to be the people who are pro MJ or anti MJ. And I think that debate will continue to go on and on and on. I think 10 years from now, all we're going to see is LeBron highlights, and there's going to be your kids and Isaiah, your kids, and my grandkids who are going to say undeniably that LeBron is the greatest because they're going to have seen his 10-part documentary and they're going to see his highlights and they're going to be like, there's no way anybody was better than that. And so who knows, you can't really compare eras to eras. I grew up in the 80s, and certainly at that time, Michael Jordan was by far the best. But if you look at overall impact on the game, overall impact on fashion and apparel and clothing, overall recognizability across the globe, there's no one bigger than MJ. And I think that's going to continue to go on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, MJ is still the GOAT. That's not changing in my mind. And even if the stats were inflated, it's not MJ who's inflating the stats. So it's the league who did it. So
who knows if MJ had part in it? Who knows? Maybe
not. Maybe so. But either way, he's still the GOAT for me. And,
what could be done to convince you that Michael Jordan is not the GOAT?
I don't know if there's anything that could be done. I think LeBron's reached his limit on all things. Even if he won another championship.
What if you found out that the NBA was involved in paying off refs to make sure that Michael Jordan won those 6 championships? Would that change your mind?
Probably not a ton, because if they did it for him, they've probably done it for a lot of other people as well.
If they did it for him, they did it for others.
I know LeBron's got his way with the refs a lot more than I know MJ has.
If you can't hear that, my other son Isaiah, who is a big LeBron fan, and we're going to have these two on at some point to discuss the GOAT debate, but he is disagreeing adamantly with some of these points that Micah is making. So listen, protect your brand, grow your brand, showcase the things, tell your stories, make sure people know, show how great you are, but always protect the integrity of what it is, and it'll pay off for you.
Alrighty, let's take a couple moments to hear from our sponsor, Duck Siding Solutions. Welcome to Duck Siding Solutions, your licensed siding contractor serving Lansing, Owasso, Flint, and the surrounding areas. We specialize in a wide range of siding services, including siding repair, siding replacement, and residential siding installations. With years of experience in the industry, we understand the importance of quality workmanship and exceptional customer service. When you choose Duck Siding Solutions, you can trust that your siding project is in capable hands. As a licensed and insured company, we pride ourselves on delivering reliable and professional solutions to our valuable clients. Our team of skilled professionals is committed to completing every project to the highest standards using top quality modern siding solutions that meet and exceed industry requirements. From high-end name brands like James Hardie to reliable tried and true alternatives, we supply customers with better options for beautiful building exteriors. Reach out to us today to get started on your next project.
So before we go, I want to do something we do in every episode. Normally we rank our top 5 of something, but today we're going to give our all-time NBA starting 5. That means each position. Yeah. So what I've agreed to do is I'm going to let Micah go first. I have kind of my 5, but I have some backups for every position, because I don't want to have the same people going against each other. So I'm going to let Micah pick his point guard, and then if he doesn't pick the same one as me, I'm going to pick my point guard, and we'll go down each position, and we're going to do a 5-on-5 matchup and have a little conversation about who we think would win and why. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Micah, your all-time starting 5 in the NBA. Go ahead at your point guard.
All right, so I'm starting off the basis of which team I think would win the most. Not necessarily the greatest at each position, although I think these still probably are the greatest at their position. But I think I'm putting together the best winning team here.
Okay, so who's your point guard?
My point guard is obviously Stephen Curry. I think it's no debate on whether he's the greatest point guard of all time. I think it's obvious that he is, and that's my first choice.
No debate?
No debate.
A debate means two people have a different opinion. I think there is some debate on that.
Not in my opinion.
But this will be easy for me because I wasn't going to pick Steph. Steph's a great player, but he's no Magic Johnson. I would actually put Steph third. I would go Magic, then Isaiah Thomas, then Steph Curry. Steph Curry's incredible, great shooter, but pure point guard, I'm going with Magic Johnson.
Well, if I'm wanting a winning team, there's no one that can space the floor like Steph Curry.
Okay. Who's your shooting guard? I think I know the answer to this.
It's obviously Michael Jordan, fills pretty much every position, I think. So he's got to be your go-to shooting guard and go-to option, really.
So my shooting guard would obviously be MJ if I had to pick, but as a second option, which I think would be an incredible matchup if they were both in their prime. They're basically the same player, same mentality. I put Kobe Bean Bryant at my shooting guard.
It's a great option. All right, small forward. My small forward, I kind of went back and forth on two options here. My two options were between Kevin Durant and Larry Bird. And I think I'm going to go with Kevin Durant just because you have the chemistry with Steph Curry and KD, and I think he'll space the floor out even more than Larry Bird would. So
Okay.
KD.
So for my small forward, I'm going with LBJ. LeBron James will destroy Kevin Durant. Sorry.
All right. Hey, you can have that one. That's fine. I couldn't do it. I
know you put Larry Bird and Kevin Durant above LeBron.
Don't disrespect Larry Bird, you know?
No, Larry Legend
Larry
is amazing,
Legend.
but this is, come on. You're putting those two guys above LeBron.
On this team, yes.
Crazy.
For the best winning team,
Okay.
yes.
Who is your power forward?
My power forward, this one was another tough one. It was between Karl Malone or Dirk Nowitzki. And I'm going to go with Dirk Nowitzki.
Wow. So the
Space
two
the floor.
greatest power forwards of all time are on your list there. The greatest power forward of all time is Tim Duncan.
Yeah, I would,
The second would be Charles Barkley. But I'm going with Charles Barkley because
he's your favorite.
he's my favorite player of all time, and his energy would fit well with this team. A lot of the guys I'm picking are real tough tough mentality guys. I think Duncan's just a little boring.
Right, exactly.
Barkley
Too fundamental.
Barkley would fit with this team really well. I'd love to see him and LeBron running the floor.
I'm really going with the spacing.
And I'm going prime guys. Prime
yeah,
Barkley.
exactly. All in their prime. I'm going spacing here. So you got everyone that can shoot. Pretty much everyone that I've picked here. So you kind of have multi-level.
Yeah, Steph would give Magic a run for his money with the speed, but Magic Johnson's height would be quite the matchup.
He's
All
not
right,
quite the scorer, but I mean,
let's see who you got at center.
I think it's pretty obvious. Shaquille O'Neal, most dominant player of all time. I think if I have all those guys spacing out and you just let Shaq go one-on-one down in the paint or be able to kick out to those guys to shoot, I don't think there's any team that can stop him.
Well, I think Shaq it was a good pick. He'd be one of mine, but he's a very ball dominant player.
Right.
I think for me, with the team that I have, I would rather see Akeem Olajuwon. He's a smooth player, great defender, one of the best defenders on Shaquille O'Neal. And I think just a great scorer, smooth player would fit well with my team. So give me your rundown again. Your point guard,
Steph Curry,
shooting guard, small forward,
Kevin Durant,
power forward,
Dirk Nowitzki,
and your center,
Shaquille O'Neal.
So I got Magic at the point, Kobe at shooting guard, Charles Barkley as my power forward, LeBron James as my small forward, and Akeem Olajuwon as my center. So I think we win that game. I really, really do. It'd be a good matchup for sure, but I think we win that game. I think Kobe and Michael in a one-on-one matchup, they cancel each other out. I think Steph and Magic would be an interesting matchup, but I think Magic's size gets the best of him. I think who is your power forward? Malone,
Dirk Nowitzki,
Barkley and Dirk. That'd be an interesting matchup. LeBron kills KD all day, and then I think Shaq and Hakeem would be an interesting matchup. So it'd be good. Do you want a sixth man? Do you have a sixth man who comes off the bench?
That's a good question. If I were to pick a sixth man, I'm trying to think of what position I'd like to exchange. It'd probably be Karl Malone for Dirk. I think that's the one I would probably exchange the most with.
I think my sixth man would be Isaiah Thomas coming off the bench because Steph's going to run Magic around a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think Isaiah Thomas and Steph would be an incredible matchup. All right. Well, there you have it. Let us know in the comments whose starting five you think would win that matchup and why, or let us know your starting five in the comments. Should be a fun conversation. Also, we wrote a full article on this topic at AZ Branding. It's on our blog. You can follow that on Instagram or at our website, and let us know what you think about the article. It's about whether or not the NBA knew about MJ. So let us know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast here. Hit that notification bell, and let us know what you think of what we're talking about. Micah, you got anything else before we close it out?
MJ's the GOAT. That's the only thing to say.
MJ's the GOAT. All right, well, thank you for watching. As my mother always said, you can't and never could until you tried. So go out there and try something great, my friends, and don't take the easy way out. We'll see you next time.